Good afternoon. It says it's trying to reconnect. I don't know. I checked these settings and all that kind of thing, and everything looks good. And then we have an issue, so hopefully we're not having an issue. It is Friday, and that means it's time for our Lunch and Learn. And today we're going to be talking about brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. Now, you may have seen this. You may not have understood this, but we're going to talk today about how this particular chemical process helps us keep our cognitive ability as we age. It's been a very busy day today, and I meant to have some little visual aids for you, and it didn't happen, so I do apologize. But we're talking about cognitive health, and we've been talking about cognitive health for a while. This is because this is something that is, we're dealing with aging population. We're seeing this all over the place. And I, as an aging population person, do not want to have cognitive issues. And so I want to figure out what it takes so that I can have what I need so that I am not going into my latter years with cognitive decline. So cognitive health depends upon the impulses that constantly pass between your 100 million brain cells. Okay, these are the neurons of your brain. 100 million brain cells. And so that is a lot of hardware up there, and we need to make sure that it's getting everything that it needs so it can continue to function well into older age. One protein in particular is called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's instrumental in maintaining the connections that make the symphony of brain communication possible. It is just one player among many, but its role is essential for lifelong cognitive health. Optimized BDNF is a diet and lifestyle issue. So if you have a poor lifestyle, if you have a poor diet, you're going to need to decide what you need to do if you want to live a long time and have all of your functions. Now, I do not believe that you have to get old and get decrepit. I just don't believe that. There's just a whole lot of science out there that says that you can age well, you can age gracefully, and you do not have to be subject to all the things that old people have. And so I don't want to be that old person. And so because of that, I make sure that my diet is pretty healthy. Now, do I eat 100% of the time? Probably not, okay? But am I cognizant of what I am eating, and am I aware of the proportions of foods that I'm eating? Am I aware that I am getting all the antioxidants that I need in order that my body can produce this BDNF? And I am. And I want you to be as well. And so that's why we're having this discussion. The most abundant neurotrophin in the brain is BDNF, and it is found in high concentrations in the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the cerebellum. Also in the cerebral cortex. Now, one of the things that constitutes dementia or cognitive decline is a shrinking of the hippocampus. And so there are a lot of things that you can do. You can do some diet work, you can do some music work, you can do frequency work, you can do a whole lot of things to keep that hippocampus from shrinking. But that's one of the factors that leads to cognitive decline is the shrinking of the hippocampus. Now, all of these organelles in the brain are responsible for memory, emotions, spatial recognition, language, processing, and movement. So the brain needs to work properly, and for it to work properly, each function of the brain must do what it needs to do. Now, when we get older, those demarcation lines between the brain, they kind of collapse, dissolve, become less rigid, and that means the brain doesn't really know who's supposed to be doing what, and so the brain kind of over-processes and everything gets lost in translation. So that's just not a great thing. Now, according to J. Carson Smith, who's a professor of kinesiology at the University of Maryland in College Park, the distinctions between the brain start to break down with aging, causing interference, which can be distracted when someone's trying to pay attention. As we lose our function in our brain, all of our brain regions tend to become activated all at once because we're trying to compensate for the natural loss of neural function that we get when we get older. Now, If we have enough of the BDNF, then that is key for maintaining the neural function that we need. This factor begins its development during our very, very formative years. It helps the brain cells to mature and survive. This protein also continues to be active in the brain cell growth and maturation and maintenance throughout life. BDNF is essential essential for plasticity and adaptive processes that allow the brain to form fresh connections and response to new information and challenges. So this is why when we are older, we'll have people come in and they'll say, I just don't remember. Can you write it down? They just have trouble processing. And it could be because the BDNF is not where it needs to be. Now, Smith says that rather than helping the brain create new connections, BDNF's primary function may be related more to maintaining the structures called dendrites, the protections at the end of neurons that enable information to pass between the brain's network. He says that BDNF is like a fertilizer. So I wanted to show you this picture because I saw this picture years ago, and I can just visually see it right now, but I wanted to print it out so that you could see it. But you have an imagination, and so you can look at this through your mind's eye and you can see what I'm talking about. Think about the different dendrites in your brain. Think about leaves on a tree, branches on a tree. When it's springtime and you go outside and you've got all this new growth and the tree is very healthy and you see all of this new growth, even at the very ends, it's absolutely beautiful. Well, that's when you have a lot of BDNF. When you have a toxic brain, then you look like your little tree looks like something that's been in the fire. So if you're looking at California, you're looking at the trees, you've got a great visual there. But think about in the winter time, it is winter time here in Texas, and we've just gone through, 2 days of snow, so give me a break on that. We hardly ever have snow in Texas. But all of our foliage on our trees, not our evergreens, but, all the other trees that lose their leaves in the fall, they are just sticks. They are just branches, and they've got little sticks out there, but it doesn't look good. Well, this is what your brain looks like when you lose your BDNF. Now, there is a Dr. Caroline Leaf. I don't know if you've heard of her, but you need to. She's got a book, a program. It's called Who Turned Off My Brain? She's got an app. Says something about detoxifying my brain. She's really, 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 really good. And she, in her book, shows how your brain works with these dendrites. She shows the really pretty plush tree over here, and she shows the really stark, snaggly tree over here. And she says that toxicity, bad experiences, bad thoughts, all that kind of stuff can lead to these barren branches that don't have the dendrites. If you don't have the dendrites, you're not going to have everything moving like it needs to in your brain, and BDNF helps keep that working the way it needs to. So this is something that we need to know, and this is something that we need to know how to encourage in our bodies so that we have those beautiful plush dendrites that are getting all of those messages that we need. So BDNF levels do decrease as we age because it is the fertilizer of the dendrites, and the connections between the dendrites is hampered as we lose the BDNF. Research suggests a correlation between lower BDNF levels and age-related changes in the brain, including lower cognitive test scores, a reduction in hippocampal volume, and mild cognitive impairment. In this condition, difficulties with memory, judgment, and decision-making are more pronounced, and they don't reach the levels of Alzheimer's or dementia. But other changes, such as decreased neurogenesis and beta amyloid buildup, I was going to say plaque, but it says buildup here, is seen in the Alzheimer's patients. This also may be related to BDNF. However, the picture is complex, and there's not always a clear association between the BDNF and cognitive decline. There's a 2023 study published by biomolecules that show that BDNF levels are higher in people with Alzheimer's than those in mild cognitive decline. But it cited other research that shows that Alzheimer's patients and mild cognitive impaired patients have lower BDNF than a normal high-functioning person. So what I take from that is you need to make sure that you are feeding your body antioxidants, because it is those antioxidants that help your body make the BDNF. It's been suggested that BDNF levels vary with the disease severity, and that higher levels associated with mild cognitive impairment and stages of Alzheimer's disease, and lower levels are reported in patients with severe Alzheimer's disease. So, looking at cognitive decline, you don't just function today and then tomorrow you don't. It just doesn't work like that. Here in the United States, we make jokes about, having a senior moment and all that kind of stuff. And, there are senior moments. Now, is that connected to lower BDNF, or is that just connected to I don't have a mindset? I'm not paying attention. Somebody tells me something I don't remember because I wasn't focused. I wasn't tuned in. It wasn't important to me at the time. And so I don't like to joke about senior moments, because I think that if we're not paying attention, that's disrespectful to the person that's trying to give us information. So we should be fully focused on that. But also we need to make sure that we are responsible for this temple, and the brain cognition is something that we need to be responsible for as well. If we don't know how to encourage BDNF, then we're not going to do the things that we need to do in order to encourage that. So the reasons are not totally known. The research doesn't totally give us all the answers, but it does say that the body may produce more BDNF in the early stages of cognitive decline in an attempt to repair the brain cells and protect against the disease progression. So we want to make sure that we're doing what we can do. Now, despite the complexities, patterns across the studies point to modifiable factors. These are factors that we can do that can either promote or interfere with BDNF. According to Gina Nick, who is a leading naturopathic physician and formulator of glutathione-based health products, inflammation is one of the most important factors. She says that exposure to potential toxins in food and environment can cause inflammation to increase with age. This exposure creates unstable molecules called reactive oxygen species, and this type of free radical, they stabilize themselves by taking electrons from molecules in healthy tissue, which sets off a chain reaction to produce more free radicals. So that's a lot of mumbo jumbo here, so I want to break it down. Go back to 9th grade physics, when here in the United States is when we start really looking at the atom. You've got your nucleus, you've got your protons, your electrons, your neutrons, right? So we know that in the electrons, if they're not balanced, right, then one of them is a free radical, and it will try and grab another electron in order to make it balanced. And so this is what happens with reactive oxygen species, is that we've got a lot of electrons out there looking for mates, and as it grabs electrons from a different molecule, it encourages more oxidative stress in the body. A lack of BDNF is oxidative stress. So how do we mitigate that? I'm so glad you asked, okay? Our food is how we mitigate that. Our fresh fruit, our fresh vegetables, those produce nutrients in our body that our body can in turn convert to antioxidants, and antioxidants go out and it resolves the free radicals. That's the only thing that you can do. Now, I was going to bring in some glutathione and show you what glutathione looks like, because that is the ultimate antioxidant. However, we're all sold out because we believe in antioxidants and we make sure that we get what we need. And so we want to make sure that if we take care of the reactive oxygen species that we're going to be able to encourage the BDNF. So this oxidative stress appears to promote inflammation throughout the body, including the brain. As oxidative stress increases, Nick says, BDNF levels go down. The effects may be more pronounced in the brains of older people because of the decrease in the body's ability to repair the damaged DNA, and that's just because they're older, we're not getting the right nutrition, we've got all this toxic exposure, and so this is why we recommend that anybody 50 years old and older does a detox, an environmental detox every year, all right? You're going to get toxicity in your food too if you do the standard American diet, because the standard American diet is full of foods that are not real foods. They're processed foods. They've got all kinds of toxicity in them, and it overloads your liver. And when your liver is overloaded, your liver is the primary filter of the body, then nothing in the body can work like it needs to. So there is a connection between diet and BDNF. So inflammation may be driven by dietary factors such as salt, fat, and additives of ultra-processed food. Now, we talked about ultra-processed food last week, and the research shows that 60% of the average person's diet is made up of ultra-processed food. That's anything in a box or a package. So I have hardly anything in a box or a package, and I'm very careful about what my diet looks like and my family's diet. But in the normal American, 60% of their diet is made up of ultra-processed foods. That's just not good. Nick says that such foods can deplete glutathione, the body's most abundant neuroprotective antioxidant, and start a cycle that promotes chronic neuroinflammation. Glutathione, when it's manufactured by the body, it's naturally occurring in the body, and it eats up a lot of other antioxidants when the body is making it. When you're exposed to a bunch of toxins in the environment, it triggers inflammation, neuroinflammation, and it reduces the amount of glutathione in your brain. So what do? We eat foods that have natural antioxidants in there. She says it is important to replace the stores of antioxidants necessary to make glutathione so the body can continue to protect the brain cells from damage. Now, as some of you know, we're dealing with cognitive decline in some of our older family members. And you know what they love? Salt. For years and years and years, they salted their food. Now, I like my food salted, I'm not going to lie. But there is an overabundance of salt. And salt, fats, and ultra-processed food deplete the BDNF. We don't want to deplete the BDNF. So if you have a salty tooth, right, you need to be more cognizant of what you're eating to make sure that you're incorporating these antioxidants in your food. So what foods have a lot of antioxidants? It's all the bright colored food. It's your red food, it's your blue food, your orange, your yellow, your green, your red. Okay, those are our fruits and vegetables. The brighter the color, the more antioxidants they have. The more we eat those, the more we have the nutrition that our body can use to make our own antioxidants. And so if we're not replenishing that, then we're not going to have enough glutathione in the brain. So research suggests that other antioxidants may also increase or maintain BDNF levels. So in 2021, there was a study published by nutritional neuroscience researchers, and it found that food and supplements containing plant-based nutrients called polyphenols were associated with increased BDNF. There was also a potential connection between higher BDNF levels and anti-inflammatory compounds such as flavonoids and omega-3 fatty acids. So this is really encouraging for me because for the last probably 3 years, I have made it a point to have a supplement, even though my diet is good. My diet is It's way better than most, okay? Is it 100% perfect? No. It's only going to be perfect when we go back to the Garden of Eden, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. But I supplement with Life Pack Nanos because Life Pack Nanos is made from fruits and vegetables, and it is high in antioxidants. These little red pills are high in the omegas, and so I know that I'm getting all of the stuff that I need for my brain to be able to work, because the study shows that if we're not having a diet high in antioxidants, then we're not going to be maintaining that BDNF. So I like this because it's full of that. And I was looking at the paper, okay, all of these vitamins are covered by research papers, and I absolutely love that. But the Life Pack Nanos, I like them because they contain more than 60 antioxidants. Okay, 60. How many foods would you have to eat in order to have 60 antioxidants? Okay, I don't know the answer to that question. All right, we're supposed to have 36 different fruits and vegetables every week. I don't get that. I mean, I don't know anybody that does get that. 36 different fruits and vegetables to make sure that we have all the antioxidants that we need. But when I take this, I take it twice a day. I know that I'm getting all the antioxidants that I need so that my body can do what it needs to do. I also do the practice, as I said before, in January, February time. I always do a total body detox because why? Because I'm over 50 and my liver is my largest filter, and I'm involved in things that are outside in the environment, and the environment is, pretty nasty. We're not too far from the Houston Ship Channel. There's a lot of oil and gas plants out there, and so, they're blowing off stuff all the time that, in fact, I read a little blurb today that there is in our area, not in my immediate area, but within 50 miles, there was a chemical truck that turned over, and it's releasing all this kind of gas. And so we are all in that environment, and we are all getting things into the body through the skin, through breath, through food, through all those kind of things. So we need to be able to make sure that we're doing what we need to do so that we're able to have what we need so we have good brain function. Now, you guys know, you may not remember, but I'm going to help you here. I'll remind you. We've got, I dropped it. We've got this screen. We're supposed to be in the purple. If we're having enough antioxidants, we're going to be in the purple. So this is a way that we can actually measure your vitamin intake. Are you getting enough antioxidants? Because this little tool, that's what it does. It measures the antioxidants in your skin. So we don't have to just worry or wonder, am I getting enough? We can demonstratively show that what you're putting in your body is taking that, it's converting that into antioxidants, and your body's able to do what it needs to do. Now, besides food, which everybody loves food, you can also exercise your way to better BDNF. And I know a lot of people don't really like exercise, but it's really important. And we know that as we get older, we tend to be more stagnant, we tend to be more stationary, and we don't move as much as we did when we were younger. So staying active may provide additional benefits for BDNF and overall brain health. According to a 2023 review, BDNF appears to be one of the major factors responsible for cognitive benefits observed in many exercise trials. The researchers concluded that exercise, particularly cardio, is associated with better cognition in cases of mild cognitive impairment and dementia. The review linked several effects of exercise to better cognitive outcomes, including the release of lactate and proteins from muscle and the stimulation of osteocalcin. Now, osteocalcin helps our bones to be made strong. And so this is something that we know as women, particularly postmenopausal women, because we don't have that estrogen, we're very, very susceptible to bone loss, osteopenia, osteoporosis, and that kind of thing. And they have found that exercise, particularly weight-bearing exercise, helps to stave off that osteoporosis. So the molecules promote the production of BDNF and appear to be the factors that connect the processes to improvements in mood, cognition, learning, and memory. So the process is complex, all right? What I want you to know is that you need to have a plan in place to make sure that you are getting the nutrients that you need in order to produce BDNF. It is something that is automatic in your brain if you have the right food and if you exercise properly. So you don't have to get demented when you get older, okay? I've said this before, but one of my all-time heroes is Moses. Yeah, the patriarch Moses. Why is that? Because he was up and down that mountain, right? He was 120 years old. And the Bible is specific. He was not blind. He was not lame. He was not impaired in any way. And he was 120. And so, you know, when you think about all those millennia ago, however long it was, right? This older gentleman, 120 years old, up and down that mountain, not lame, not deaf. And it is said that the book of Deuteronomy was all what he spoke out of remembrance. Now, I don't know that I can prove that, but that's what the rabbis tell us. And so, I mean, that's pretty impressive, 120 years old. You know, sometimes somebody asks me to recite the Ten Commandments, and I'm like, I don't know that I can do that. I used to know them. I used to have them memorized, but nobody's asked me about them in a very long time, so could I recite them? Probably not. I've memorized a lot of scripture in my lifetime. Do I remember it? Probably not. I mean, I know it's in there and I know where I can find it, but we want to go into our older years knowing that we can rely on our cognitive ability and not be searching for words and not be frustrated when we can't do a puzzle, not be frustrated when we can't do whatever we want to do just because we're quote unquote older. That's one of the things that kind of gets in my craw whenever you go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, well, that's just a natural part of aging, because I just don't believe there's such a thing as a natural part of aging if you keep your body moving and if you eat the right kind of foods. So I'm encouraged because I do all of these vitamins every day, twice a day, okay? And I know from my score that I have great antioxidants levels in my brain, which means that I am producing enough BDNF that I should not have cognitive impairment as I get older. So if you want to have more information about that, give us a call. We'll be able to hook you up. It is the weekend, and part of enjoying your life is going out and resting, relaxing, doing all that rejuvenation that you need to do because you've been working all day. The weather's going to be better, not freezing, as it was earlier in the week. However, I think we got rain next week, so kind of bear that in mind. Restore, replenish, relax, do all the things that you need to do so that you can live another day with all the strength that you need to do all the things that you need to do. So signing off for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, all the things that you do. I appreciate that, and I will see you next week.